In October 1944, a Japanese naval officer proposed a weapon that no Western military doctrine had ever conceived. In the face of overwhelming American air and naval superiority, Vice Admiral Takejiro Onishi suggested that pilots should deliberately crash their aircraft, loaded with bombs, into American warships. The pilots who volunteered would not return. They were called TACO, Special Attack, and the world came to know them as Kamikaze. Divine Wind. Japan by late 1944 was losing the Pacific War decisively. Its carrier fleet had been destroyed at Midway and the Philippine Sea. Its merchant shipping was being systematically sunk by American submarines. Its island bases were falling one by one. The American industrial machine was producing ships, planes, and trained pilots at rates Japan could not match. In conventional terms, the war was over. But Japan's military leadership could not accept surrender. The kamikaze concept emerged from desperation and calculation. A trained pilot in a conventional attack had perhaps a 1 in 5 chance of scoring a hit on a well-defended warship. A pilot committed to a death dive had a far higher chance of hitting his target. The mathematics seemed to favor the exchange, one pilot and one aircraft for one damaged or destroyed warship. If enough kamikazes could be launched, perhaps American losses would make an invasion of Japan too costly to contemplate. The first organized kamikaze attacks struck during the Battle of Leyte Gulf in October 1944, when pilots sank the escort carrier USS St. Lo and damaged several other ships. The attacks astonished American commanders. No one had anticipated this. There was no doctrine for defending against an enemy who did not intend to survive. The peak of the kamikaze campaign came during the Battle of Okinawa in the spring of 1945. Over 1,900 kamikaze sorties were launched. 36 American ships were sunk and hundreds more damaged. Over 5,000 American sailors were killed, more than in any other Pacific campaign. The psychological effect on American crews was significant. Every ship that came within range of Japan was at risk from planes that gave no warning and sought only to destroy. But the campaign failed. Kamikazes damaged ships in large numbers but sank relatively few. American radar improved, combat air patrols were extended, and the ships themselves proved more resilient than expected. American industrial output replaced damaged ships faster than they could be destroyed, and Japan was running out of pilots and aircraft. The training programs had been shortened so drastically to produce kamikaze volunteers that many could barely control their planes. More than 3,800 Japanese pilots died in kamikaze missions during the campaign. Their ages ranged from teenagers to men in their 30s. Many were university students who had been conscripted into the military. Their letters home reveal young men who faced death with a mixture of patriotism, resignation, and grief for the lives they would not live. They were not fanatics in the sense we now use the word. They were young men caught in a system that left them no choice. The kamikaze campaign ultimately accelerated rather than prevented Japan's defeat. The scale of the American response to Okinawa and the projected casualties of an invasion of the Japanese home islands contributed to the decision to use the atomic bomb. The bomb ended the war before the invasion was launched, but not before 3,800 young men had flown to their deaths in the Pacific sky. The kamikaze pilots are remembered in Japan with complex emotions, as tragic figures caught in an impossible situation rather than as heroes. Their sacrifice did not save Japan, but understanding why it happened and what it cost is part of understanding the full human dimension of the Second World War.